Faith.
Thank you, Margaret, for that. Next, we shall hear from Elizabeth from Tanzania. Yes, Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Simon Mwachanila. I'm a graduate from University of Dodoma with bachelor degree in geoinformatics. I'm very passionate about working with challenges and cases that deals with spatial analysis so that I can be able to increase my knowledge and experience. In the period of ESWI, I've been able to gain a new perspective of analyzing data, working on JS solutions, and widening my spatial thinking. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, we shall hear from Lucy from Kenya. Yes, Lucia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucia Wanjiru, a third-year student at Taita Taveta University, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Geoinformatics. I'm interested about learning and developing new skills, and also watching wildlife documentaries, reading novels, and hiking. I'm also passionate about surveying, and I have a genuine interest in understanding the technology that develops one's ability to create, store, analyze, and manage geographic information for more effective and equitable solutions to global challenges. The internship program has been a learning process of honing my skills, and it has provided me an opportunity to gain hands-on experience in making meaningful of geospatial data using various functionalities provided in the S3 products. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, team, for those wonderful introductions. And actually, those are the Esri Eastern Q1 interns for the year 2023. Actually, I'm so eager to listen to this presentation. Allow me to pass it over to our moderators, Anne and Walid. Thank you.
Good morning again. Welcome to the part of the session where the interns and the attaches are going to present their projects. My name is Walid, and I'll be one of your moderators, assisted by Anne, for the sessions today. The first presentation will be done by Christine Chege and Anne Chepkoech. The presentation is about ArcGIS solution for optimization of e-mobility adoption in Nairobi. Anne and Christine may take the stage. Feel free to type any questions on the chat, and Q&A session will be done at the end of the presentation. Thank you. Anne and Christine.
Thank you so much, Walid. Christine and I will take you through our presentation, and we will be presenting to you. We'll be presenting to you an ArcGIS solution. We'll be presenting to you an ArcGIS solution on for optimization of e-mobility adoption in Nairobi. And we'll give you a brief introduction of what we did. And just a brief introduction to what e-mobility is that it's the use of electricity to power the transport infrastructure as an alternative to fossil fuels. The electricity is preferred to be from renewable energy sources such as hydro, geothermal, wind, and solar to minimize overall emissions. And why e-mobility is why the push for implementation and the impacts that e-mobility will have is one, to reduce environmental pollution. Transport is said to contribute to a third of the total carbon emission pollutants. And so by replacing the carbon emitting fossil fuel with electric energy to power the transportation, will decarbonize the transport sector and create a cleaner, healthier, and more affordable future for everyone. Secondly, it will influence the greening of the energy sector.
by replacing unrenewable energy fossil fuels with electric energy from renewable energy sources. Lastly, it will create a sustainable transport system that will support the mobility needs of the society in a manner that is least damageable to the environment. That is, it will be healthy, cheap, accessible, and has low social and environmental impact. E-mobility is made up of charging infrastructures, that is the charging station, the charging ports, and the ancillary equipments. It's also made up of power needs, that is high voltage power supply from grid or solar to power the infrastructures, and also electric vehicles. As we all know that Kenya has always been in the lead as a tech hub in Sub-Sahara. It already has a number of startups of e-mobility running and has made e-mobility a nascent industry in Kenya. A few examples of the e-mobilities startup in Kenya include Akride, which is a company that's providing affordable, reliable, clean e-mobility solutions through battery swapping infrastructure and assembling of high quality electric vehicles that include bicycles, motorcycles, and tuk-tuks. We also have EcoBoda, which is an electric two-wheeler startup in Kenya with a mission to revolutionize the motorcycle industry. We also have the Basigo company, that is looking to revolutionize the public transportation sector by providing public transport bus owners with cost-effective electric alternatives to diesel. And lastly, we have Rome, a Swedish-Kenyan electric mobility company that has rolled out a mass transit electric bus and also provide next generation motorcycles. Our solution will aim to address the barriers affecting adoption of electric vehicles. And one is limited dissemination of information on e-mobility, on their existence, and their geographical location distribution and services they offer, lack of public charging stations that are easily accessible and owned or regulated by the government. It will also address the power needs, that is stable high power supply and alternative sources of power and power backup needs. Objective of our solution was to develop a solution concept for optimizing the adoption of electric vehicles in Nairobi by showing potential areas of improvement in existing and proposed electric vehicle charging locations. We had a case study of Total Energy Station as a potential public charging stations since it's expanded its services and rebranded to be a broad energy providing company to adopt to the reinvention in the energy sector. And that's what contributed to its consideration as a potential public charging station. And also we had the proposed locations that included shopping malls because of their extensive parking spaces, and bus stops that are also within the high power voltage supply lines, grid lines within Nairobi. Our data sets were developed on insights of space to accommodate the charging infrastructures, the security of the locations, and the accessibility of the locations based on its location according to the major roads network within Nairobi. We had a breakdown of how we arrived at our solution, and our solution architecture breakdown started with data collection and integration, and the using of ArcGIS Pro to integrate the data and make it available on the online contents and services. And then we did data analysis, configuration of the data, and addition of elements using ArcGIS Online
and provided all this data on a portal with an aim of stakeholders engagement, where they can engage with this data using a desktop, through a website, or by use of devices. We were looking forward to the investors accessing the dashboard statistics that they will use to calculate the value chain of e-mobility, upfront of vehicles and infrastructure cost, and also do visibility analysis of the projects. Also, the regulatory bodies can use the statistics provided for planning and permitting purposes. The government can use the information also for policies, to create policies around e-mobility, such as on taxation, regulations of the businesses. Also, our other stakeholders included data collectors and public, whereby our data collectors, we had a survey form for, we made a survey form that can be used to add new charging stations. And also we had applications such as a Find Near app that can be used by the public to find a near charging station, direction and distance. And also the access of the information by the public will be used to create awareness on e-mobility and services. The methodology and the tools that we used is, we started by collecting data. We used ArcGIS Pro to create feature layers that were further taken through spatial analysis, geoprocessing, styling, and symbology, exported the layers as web layers into the portal. And then we used ArcGIS Online to edit these feature layers in the web map. And we also have, we made our first output as a story map that's documenting the methodology and the tools. And then we use the Map Viewer Classic to configure attributes and pop-ups, edit styles and symbol, and did analysis. Our final web map was shared through the dashboards to create a dashboard. And we also shared it using the web app builder to create a web app. We also used the Survey 1 to 3 application to create a survey form. We also used the instance applications to create the Find Near app. And then we combined these outputs to using an experience builder to create an ArcGIS website. And then I'll then give it to my colleague Christine to take you through our demonstrations.
Thank you, Anne. So for the data collection, we used ArcGIS Desktop, whereby using the editing tab, we picked the coordinates of the existing charging stations as shown on the screen, the total energy stations, bus stops, shopping malls, and in Nairobi. And also from online sources, we gathered data on Nairobi major routes, the 66 kV power lines, 220 and 132 Nairobi power lines. We then populated the attributes of each point collected using the attribute table. The attributes that we populated were the connector type, AC or DC, with their corresponding charging point speed, and also whether the stations were had solar power available. After acquiring the data, which was the total energy stations, shopping malls, major bus stops, power lines, and Nairobi major routes, we went on to perform analysis using the geoprocessing tools, such as we used the merge tool to combine the different kinds of power lines into one layer, which we made it into Nairobi power lines layer as shown on the screen. We then buffered the merged power lines layer to a distance of 200 meters. And this will be the determinant of the proximity of the charging stations to grid power. So this is the buffer distance, and we separated the total energy stations and shopping malls into stations that had solar powered and the ones that didn't have solar power. I'm using the make feature layer tool, which queries the attributable field. And using the clip tool, we picked the stations that didn't have solar power, but were within the 200-meter power length buffer. These became the grid-powered shopping malls. We then used the clip tool again to extract the stations that had solar power available and were within the 200 power length buffer to create the hybrid powered total energy stations or the shopping malls, as you can see. So for the bus stops, we use the clip tool to extract the bus stops that were within the power lines buffer to become the grid powered bus stops as shown. And also we use the erase tool to extract the bus stops that were not within the buffer. This will be the solar powered bus stops. After using, so here displayed is all the layers that we created from the geoprocessing tools. And then we applied symbology to the points and shared the layers using ArcGIS Online, where we configured the attributes and pop-ups. We then went on to develop applications as followed. So I'm just going to share with you a different screen. Yeah, using Experience Builder, we created a website that can be used by drivers, investors, business owners, and other stakeholders to be informed on the proposed locations for setting up differently powered EV charging stations in Nairobi, whereby we embedded all our applications to Experience Builder. We also use the Experience Builder widgets to add functionality to our website application. For example, for the homepage, as you can see on your screen, we added the filtering widget to display differently powered charging stations. Let me demonstrate one whereby a user can filter the data out using the connector type DC of the solar powered charging station. So I'm going to select the CHAdeMO connector type and the charging speed as 100. So when I remove the visibility of all the other layers and apply the filter, the application filters out for me the charging stations based on the attributes that I've given. And the other application that we created was find nearby charging station, which was created using instant apps. This displays a map showing the differently powered charging stations. The applications allows users to specify or enter their location either using their device's GPS or by manually entering an address or location. The user can specify the radius within which he or she wants to locate a charging station nearby. The results are a list of charging stations that are within the radius of the user. And a user can select a charging station that fits his or her preferred attributes, and the application will give directions on how to get to the charging station. It also measures the approximate time it will take for the driver to get to the charging station. So I'm just going to demonstrate how the application works, whereby I am going to use my current location and specify, let's say, a buffer distance of about 1.2 kilometers. As you can see on the screen, the application gives me a list of charging stations that are within the buffer distance that I want. And also, as you can see, it has specified the differently powered charging stations, such as the Total stations or the hybrid shopping malls. So I'm going to select the T mall, and as you can see at the corner, the right corner of this is a direction button, whereby it has given me the directions to get to the specified charging station, with accompanied with the time that it's going to take me on every corner, on every turn that I take on that routing. Yeah, so the next application that we created, we used web app we used ArcGIS Web App Builder to create a web application that uses a query widget to filter the charging stations based on various criteria. And this is a useful tool for the electric vehicle drivers to find the nearest charging station that meets their specified needs. The query widget allows the drivers to filter the charging stations based on criteria such as the connector type or the charging point speed. So I'm just going to demonstrate how the application works, whereby using the query widget, so let's say I want to use a solar powered bus stop. I can specify I want to use a GBT connector type DC and with a charging point speed of 100 to 125. And once I click apply, it gives me a list of charging stations that fit the criteria that I have just specified. And once I click to one charging station from the list, it zooms in to a specific charging station. And with also, it gives me a few attribute information about that charging station. The next output was a form which was created by Survey123, which is an S3 tool that allows users to create customized surveys to collect and manage data. So we use the Survey123 to create a form that enables business owners or investors to add a newly set up charging station to the data set, and we link the form to a map that contains the existing charging stations layer. When the form is filled, it displays on the map as a new charging station. So let's give it a name, let's call it EV charger. So how is the charging station being powered? Let's specify grid with the connector type that are available. For AC, I'm going to select type 2 connector type. And for the DC that are available, I'm going to select CC1 and CHAdeMO with an output power range of, let's say, 100 voltage. And also I can specify where that charging station is using the map. Since I want it to be in Nairobi, I'm going to zoom into Nairobi County. And I'm going to pick let it be along Naivasha Road. And once I click submit, and refresh the page, So I can zoom in on the map and see that a new charging station has been added to the map. And this was along Naivasha Road. So this is the point. When I check the pop-ups, I can see that this is a new charging station with the connector type that I gave it and the name. And on to our last output was a dashboard, which shows the differently powered charging stations of the Total Energies shopping malls, bus stops, and existing charging stations. So this dashboard is a very interactive one, whereby once I zoom in or out of the map, the indicators below and also the pie charts also change based on the zoom level of the map. And when I zoom out, it shows me statistically how many charging stations are there. And we group them into the differently powered Total stations, whether it's hybrid, grid, or solar, the bus stops as well, whether it's grid or solar powered, the shopping malls, whether it's solar powered, hybrid powered, or grid powered. And it also shows that the existing charging stations in Nairobi are 5.
Kindly wind up, time is not on your side.
Yes, thank you, Walid. I'm going to take this back to Anne to take us through the benefits of the solution.
Thank you, Christine. I'll be taking you through the benefits of our solution. And to start with, the solution will inform on the utility upgrade needs. This is to meet the demand for power supply that will foster the development of electrification infrastructure, so as to fill the gap of charging time versus fueling time that is making e-mobility not to be adopted. Secondly is the dashboard statistics can be used by the investors to calculate the value chain of e-mobility. And this will drive investment and attract the participation of potential stakeholders and partners to increase the uptake of electric vehicles. The public access of the information will create awareness and exposure to e-mobility. The government can also use the information for regulation and policy making on electric rates and tariffs, planning and permitting, taxation and regulations of charging business. It will also foster the growth of green economy, since it will the participants will be involved in investments and economic activities that allow reduced carbon emission and pollution, enhance energy and resource efficiency. It will also contribute to the achievement of sustainable development goals of affordable and clean energy, industry innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, and climate action. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you. Over to you, Walid.
Thank you. That was a nice presentation. And remember, if you have any questions about the presentation, you can just contact them via the chat section. And for now, I'd like to welcome Team Uganda. Team Uganda doing presentation about ArcGIS solution for weather forecasting and disaster management. And the presentation will be done by Faith Nagudo, Edmund Okrach, and Margaret Doroge. And Team Uganda may take the stage.
Yes, thank you so much. This is Team Uganda. Once again, my name is Edmund Okrach, together with my colleagues Faith and Margaret. We are going to present you a topic about GIS solution for weather forecasting and disaster management. So starting with our introduction, 9 days ago, NTV Uganda was broadcasting the state of weather, the state of progress after the March 2010 massive landslides that claimed at least 365 lives and left many displaced in Nametsi Parish, Bududa district. The education system has since been left in a bad condition, and the children have to walk 10 kilometers to reach the nearby school since 3 government schools were left in a bad state and have not yet opened. This has brought about dropout of school children, and many have opted for marriage, most especially the girls. The landslides have continued to happen, and this has been attributed to weather. Why am I telling you this? This is because weather has profound effects on human health and well-being. For example, can bring about infections such as pneumonia, affects daily dress code, activities, and kind of structures built in a society. Therefore, our goal in this presentation is to provide for you a solution of weather forecasting and disaster management. Uganda has experienced high frequency and increased severity of extreme weather conditions such as high temperatures and rainfall amounts that have brought about disasters, and to lessen on the effects of these disasters, there's need for efficient disaster management, whereby management is done before occurrence of the disasters instead of responding when the disaster has happened. So moving on to our problem statement, there's limited digital technologies for monitoring weather data. Currently, they use digital system. They use traditional methods whereby the weather changes are recorded on physical papers and transferred to the main stations for forecasting. These methods are, however, time-consuming, costly, and require more human labor. Another problem, there is inadequate monitoring techniques to manage landslides, which has led to increasing loss of lives and damage of properties. This has been evident by the continued loss of lives and the properties. Our case study is Bududa district, which is located in the eastern region of Uganda, as we can all see on the map. So our main objective was to forecast weather and manage disaster, specifically landslide. The first specific objective was to determine elements of weather and factors that lead to landslides in Bududa district. Second, to predict weather elements. And our third was to determine the areas that are prone to landslides in Bududa district. And our fourth objective was to visualize weather changes and landslide vulnerable areas. This is the solution architecture that enabled us to achieve the above objectives. We started with carrying out a literature review that enabled us to achieve our first objectives of determining weather elements and factors that lead to landslides, such as rainfall, air pressure, humidity, wind, soil types. Then we did data collection that involved use of field data and downloaded data. With the field data, we used Survey 123, which is a mobile data collection tool. So we are able to collect data of weather stations, record of weather updates, and this data was sent to ArcGIS Online, a goal for data analysis. So we're able to come up with web maps after doing the analysis using ArcGIS Online, and we're able to create a daily weather dashboard. Then coming back to the download data, we had data for weather forecasting and disaster management. Starting with the one for weather forecasting, we use rainfall data downloaded from raster image, and temperature, wind, air pressure, and humidity we downloaded from internet with reference to data on the websites of the Uganda National Meteorological Authority. The data for use for disaster management, we obtain normalized difference vegetation index got from Landsat 8 imagery, and soil types that we were able to obtain from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics website. Digital elevation model that we downloaded and also helped us to create slope, aspect, and streams. So all these data sets were put in one geodatabase called Weather and Disaster Geodatabase. Then we were able to do data processing and clean the data which were not needed, and we did analysis in ArcGIS Pro. And using Jupyter Notebook, we were able to achieve our second objective of predicting weather elements, and also we were able to achieve this third objective of determining areas that are prone to landslides by using weighted overlay analysis in ArcGIS Pro of the different factors that affect landslide. So then we used online services such as the online base maps, and then the data was shared to ArcGIS Online in form of web maps, and further analysis was done. After the analysis, it was sent back again to ArcGIS Online. It was able to make us create other products. For example, we were able to come up with a story map, which had combined information for weather forecasting and disaster management. This can be followed by both the public and members of the organization. We also developed field maps that can be used by mobile workers to monitor changes of landslides happening, and web maps that shows the landslide prone areas. The web app can be accessible by both the public and members of an organization, since it can be on a mobile device, and dashboards were further used to engage the executives, the monthly weather forecast dashboards, and dashboards showing landslide prone areas. So we are going to move on to our demo, and I'm going to pass over to my next colleague, Faith, to take you through.
Thank you, Edmond. I'm going to take you through the weather, how we came up with the weather prediction. Due to the current changes of weather globally, we came up with a digital system that will enable us to interact with weather daily changes and also to be able to predict seasons due to the available data that is in storage. Through our findings, we came up with a survey 123 form in which we were able to collect data from different regions and stations in Uganda. For example, our form was composed of the following. So this is our survey 123 form in which data is collected. So as you can see, these are the values that are in our form: the regions, the session, the district. Sorry about that. So this is our form that we came up about, which has the regions, sessions, and districts, and also the values of the weather. And as you can see, we added a region in Central, a new station in Tinda, a district in Kampala. The weather, wind was 12, temperature was 23, humidity was 25, rainfall was 1200, the air pressure was 2600, and also we select the date because it's daily, and also the operator, who is Edmond, for example. So after we share it, it comes up to the survey 123 online, in which the data is already there. As you can see, it is already added. So when I select it, it will bring the details of the news station, which is in Central. It is in Tinda. The district that it serves, it's Kampala, and weather elements. Through this survey 123 form, we also came up with a dashboard, a daily weather dashboard, with which has the dates, the region, the stations, and the districts, which are supported with the details in the dashboard and the weather elements. For example, if let me start off. If I add if I want to check on maybe Central, as you can see, it has brought me to Kampala with the data I've added, and also the station which I added, which is in Tinda, and the district that it serves, it's only Kampala. So as you can see, it also brings the details of whatever station you have selected. Also, as you can notice, the weather elements change accordingly. The wind, the air pressure, the temperature, and the humidity in different ranges. The rainfall, which is here, it also has its own range. And also, we came in, everyone enjoys a good timeline of expected weather for a particular day, week, or month, or year, to be able to plan accordingly for the activities and dressing as explained in earlier. So for our collection of data to predict weather, we came up with a Jupyter notebook in which it had exported libraries in which they helped us to predict the weather of the year of 2019 using the data that we have. We downloaded that from 2018. In it, we have the weather elements, the table of the weather elements, which we downloaded. And using the weather elements, we had to prepare a prediction. And using the prediction, we had to use the wind temperature and humidity to be able to predict the rainfall and air pressure. We can also redo that and also predict also wind temperature and humidity in a different form. And we also use the random forest in order to make the prediction of the two weather elements. And we came up with a conclusion, and we also use the relative error in order to make sure our data doesn't have errors. And after that, we transferred the data that we had already created to the ArcGIS online in order to create a form. We also created a form which will enable people who are around different stations, like let's say the one who is in Entebbe, the one who is in Tororo. We made a survey 1, 2, 3 form in order for them to add data, to send it to the station, and we have so that the data can be stored. Also, as I explained, the data is added as the other form I showed. And with this, we came up with another dashboard in which the dashboard is now has values of the predicted year of 2019 with the region, the stations, the districts, and the months accordingly, and also the weather elements of that year, and which will enable farmers and people working from far, people who are depending on weather, to work on their day. So for example, the regions are all there. We have 4 regions in Uganda: Central, Eastern, and Western. For example, if we choose Eastern, the district, we can choose either Jinja. As you can see, everything is engaging with it. And also maybe district Kamuli, and we want to know the weather, how it will be on maybe August. As you can see, each and every like it gives you the prediction that it will be like this, the air pressure will be like this, the rainfall will be like this, the wind, the temperature, and the humidity. So you will be able to plan for your day. You'll know whether to wear a jacket or not, whether to wear gumboots or not. Thank you. I'll hand over to Faith to take you over.
Thank you, Margaret.
Any questions for the presentation can be put on the chat box, and Team Uganda, please manage your time well. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, for that. I'll be taking you through disaster management. As we all know, most of these disasters occur without our knowledge, but there is a need to manage these disasters before they occur in order to reduce on the number of lives and property lost. I would love to take you through the demo. As my colleague explained earlier, we came up with a geodatabase for weather and disaster management. So we're able to download the Bududa district boundary shape files from WUBOS, and we're able also to download the Bududa soil types, as you can see on my screen. All these were clipped so that the extent of Bududa can be shown, as you can see here. Then also we're able to use NDVI. NDVI basically, as my friend Edmond explained, this NDVI was got from Landsat 8 images that were downloaded from Earth Explorer and further analyzed using the raster couch data so as to come up with the NDVI raster layer, as you can see here. Yes, basically NDVI shows the different types of vegetation in an area, as you can see there. We're also able to download the DEM. The DEM is a digital elevation model, and it was basically used to help us get the slope of the area and also the streams, as I can show you. This is how the slope is. We also use the DEM using the hydrology analysis tool to come up with streams to rivers. As you see there, these are the streams going through the slopes. The streams was further analyzed using Euclidean distance, and basically Euclidean distance shows distances between maps. I hope you see my screen. Yes, the green color shows that these areas are very near to these streams, and the white color here shows that these areas are far away from these streams. We later downloaded some landslide spots occurrences for the past years, as earlier explained by my colleague Edmond, that we used the year 2019 basing on the occurrences of landslide in Bududa, and we managed to get these spots. As you all see here, these spots show areas that were affected by landslides. All these data sets were further analyzed using the weighted overlay tool, and the weighted overlay tool basically is used to assign weights to different factors that lead to landslides. As you can see also, we use the rainfall data set to do our analysis for weighted overlay. And as explained earlier, that weighted overlay analysis is used to assign weights to different factors. And through our literature review, we discovered that rainfall has greater impact on landslides. So all these factors were further used to analyze the data, and we came up with a land vulnerable map. This land vulnerable map was basically used to show areas that are more vulnerable to landslide. For example, red, as you see this red color, it shows that these side areas, these people living around these areas are more likely to face landslide, and areas that are green shows stable grounds. Like this area here, it shows a stable ground. That means it is less likely for landslides to occur here. When I put back my landslide occurrence spots, you can see that areas that have highly vulnerable areas are more affected by landslide. You can appreciate this work also by using the 3D view. Basically, this 3D view is incorporated with ArcGIS Pro to appreciate the work. Basically, this 3D can show you elevation and you can be able to appreciate your work. It can show you the streams and the areas that are vulnerable to landslides. This was later on shared to the portal using ArcGIS Online for further analysis, and allow me to take you through the online products that we used to come up with our apps. Yes. Still loading. Yes, as you can all see, this is the web map. Web map, basically, these are web app can be shared online, basically to be able to share with other people. You can share it publicly or with your organization for further analysis. So these web apps can be used for further analysis by different types of people to achieve different things. As the way we're able to download, as the way we're able to use Living Atlas to add different layers, and they helped us to come up with this web map. This web map was further used to come up with a web app. As you can see here, this web app, it shows you the landslide occurrence points. It shows you areas that are vulnerable to landslides. And in case someone wants to know if their area is vulnerable or not, for example, I can take you through how you can interact with it. For example, if someone is staying in a village called Bubita in Bududa, since we used Bududa district as our case study, it will take you to this area. And as you can see that, last years in 2019, a landslide occurred here. So someone staying around here can know that maybe this year in the month of October, landslide will occur, and they plan accordingly. We were also able to use the web maps to come up with a form. And basically, this form was designed for field inspectors. As you can see the form here. Yes, it shows landslide occurrence spots, and then it shows nature of vulnerability. For example, the stable, highly, and moderately. It shows the village type. It shows the settlement type. It shows the types of activity in that area and the number of streams, and also the number of landslides that have occurred in that area, and the estimated number of deaths, and the date of inspection, and the field worker. Basically, this form can be used by field inspectors to collect data, and this data can be visualized by people in offices, for example, organization in charge of emergencies. So basically, we also came up with a dashboard, a dashboard that is interactive. Yes, as you can all see my screen, when someone collects data, for example, if someone collects data in this area and the map shows stable, so when you tap on stable, it will zoom into those areas that are stable. As you can see here, they tell us that the number of streams are 2, the number of landslides that have occurred are 2, and the number of deaths in the green color are 50 and 67, and the types of activities in this area, we have crop farming and farming. When you tap on the village that we added, that is Bubita, it can take you to one area. So as you can see, the number of landslide in Bubita, it was 1. The type of activity, it was crop farming, and the number of landslides and the number of streams were 1. So basically, this dashboard can be used by organization to monitor these areas so as to plan accordingly. As you can see, back to our web map, when the organization in charge of emergencies know that these areas are more likely to to have landslides, they can shift people to areas that are more stable. Basically, this app can be used by areas in charge of emergencies and also the public to know about which areas are stable so that they can plan earlier. We also came up with a story map. Basically, this story map explains more about weather forecasting and landslides using GIS. As you can see, I'll take you through briefly. It shows weather, and you can see someone putting on a coat, someone enjoying the sunshine, and also weather affects the types of building we construct. It also shows.
Faith, please rush through a story map as the
Okay.
allocated time is over, please, because we have questions that you need to answer from the participants.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll take you briefly, and that is what we had. Then Edmond will take us through the benefits of our solution.
Okay, our solution provides a digital system for reporting weather changes. This is fast and less costly and requires less labor. It also helps farmers to determine which seasons to plant their crops or harvest according to the rainfall amounts and temperatures that they're experiencing. It allows organizations that are responsible for disaster management, such as National Emergency Coordination and Operations Center, to make informed decisions before disasters happen. This will enable them to save on the incomes that they would have spent on incurring when the disaster has already happened, since now they will take actions before the disasters actually happen. Yes, so those were the benefits of our solution, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Faith and your team. Team Uganda, you have a couple of questions that have been asked on the chat section. I think we can just go through a few and then you give answers to them. The first one is by Umar Odukoya, asking what statistical models do you consider in your predictive modeling and what led you to use random forest? And then the other question is by Kennedy David, asking what, that is a conclusive list of factors, considering what criteria did you use to determine the weight of each? If you can answer those two questions and then we can proceed.
All right, thank you, Anne. Starting with Omar's question, what statistical model do you use to consider your predictive model? In your predictive modeling, we calculated relative error to enable us validate our data, and also Spearman's rank correlation to determine the accuracy of our model. And then what led us to use random forest was according to the literature review that we had done, it was shown that random forest performs better according to other methods that were used, such as support vector machine algorithm. Allow me to request Faith to take on the other question.
Thank you so much, Edmond. It's the question about the criteria that we use to determine weights of each factor. Basically, this was gotten from our literature review and the past journals that we used. So when we went through the literature review and the journals that we used to get all this information, we assigned weights basing on the information that we got that rainfall has more impact on landslides, and then slope, then other factors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Faith, for answering those questions. And Edmund, keep engaging us through the chats. We will be taking up your question and answering them. Next, we'll be having a presentation on solution for monitoring noise pollution and air quality around bus stops in Nairobi, led by Walid and the team that is Lucy and Judy Ann. Take it over.
Hi everyone, my name is Julian and I'll be taking you through the first part of our presentation. Our topic was on ArcGIS solution for mapping and monitoring noise level around bus stops. So onto our introduction, we get to understand that in Nairobi, there's always been a problem of congestion of public transport, and this influences the various bus stops. The congestion has mainly been caused with the lack of space at the stations, which means that the buses and the matatus normally have to wait in the streets, leading to traffic, and this normally adds up to the overall congestion in the city. These buses just lying around on the road usually causes more harm than good. This is because they are poorly maintained engines, which contributes to high level of noise, and emissions from the exhaust are very detrimental to the environment. And as most of us know, noise is usually a disturbing and unpleasant sound, and it doesn't really matter the source, because it could be from a crying baby or a washing machine or even just a vehicle honking. You can find its conductors touting, shouting from the hawkers and etc. And we find that noise is usually measured in decibel. And according to NEMA's regulation, motor vehicles noise levels shouldn't exceed 84 decibels. This is the threshold that we used in our project. And we find that noise is usually measured with an instrument called a sound level meter, as you can see displayed on your screen. And on the other hand, we find that air quality basically is just how clean or polluted the air is. And this is usually determined using our air quality index, where it ranges from 0 to 500. And even according to NEMA, once again, the standardized emission shouldn't exceed the range of 50 to 100, else it will be termed as healthy to the humans. Just to give you a little background of our project, high levels of noise and air pollution is as a result of urbanization. And one of the major contributions of congestion in Nairobi is the increased number of vehicles on the road. So the city's population has been growing rapidly in the recent years. Like for instance, right now, there is approximately 5.3 million people in Nairobi. And just as you can see in the graph, and more people are turning to private vehicles as their preferred mode of transport. Actually, this has put a strain on the city's already overburdened roads and made it difficult for buses and matatus to move around. Onto our problem statement. Basically, our problem statement was the lack of data on air and noise levels around these bus stops. That's why there was need for mapping and monitoring. Our main objective was to use ArcGIS to map different bus stop locations, to monitor and to visualize the real-time data on air quality and the extent of noise levels around them in Nairobi. We were also to come up with a well-put dashboard to enable different stakeholders, including the policymakers, to help them in decision making. We were also to come up with a web application that can be used to visualize and filter data that they will be needing. Onto our solution architecture. The solution architecture shows the steps that we use to get our solution. The very first stage is the data collection, where we sourced our data from different online sources. The data that we sourced included noise level, the bus stops, the pollution, and the routes in Nairobi. And also, we used dummy data to develop our solution. The data is then exported into the ArcGIS Pro, where analysis of the data is done so as we can show the data properly in feature layers. From the layers, they are exported and they are used to make web maps. More processes happen at the ArcGIS Online, like automation and fetching air quality data and weather data. The web maps are then used to create web apps, field apps, survey form, dashboards, and story maps, which the end users, such as government, NGOs, business owners, health organization, field operators, etc., can be able to use, and even the general public. They can be able to access this via their desktop or a web, or even their personal devices. I'll let my colleague Lucia and Walid take you through the demo.
Okay, I'm going to take you through data analysis in ArcGIS Pro for the noise levels and the air quality. And then, okay, according to our findings, based on the data to use and how we wanted it to be visualized, we found that using ArcGIS Pro, we could explore, visualize, and analyze our data in a desirable way. And so we used various tools like analysis, conversion, data management, spatial analysis, and many other tools to perform analysis. Okay, we started by adding the data that we collected. That is the data for the noise levels. And then we imported the CSV files into the ArcGIS environment for it to be represented as point shape file by exporting them as a point feature. And okay, we were able to, for us to obtain only the data within the Nairobi County boundaries, we performed clipping. In order to cut out or rather to extract the data within the Nairobi County limits to their own layers, as you can see in the map. And then we also did interpolation analysis using the inverse distance weighting, spatial analyst tool, interpolation method for the day, that is morning, afternoon, and evening, to be able to visualize the intensity of the noise levels at various bus stops. Okay, we also symbolized our layers to represent the appearance of points using graduated colors with different sizes by enabling scale-based sizing for the symbologies. For the purpose of unique representation of the 5 classes, that is the low, moderate, high, very high, and intolerable, as you can see. And then we did pop-up configuration for the noise, for the bus stops layer, so as to such that when you can click at one bus stop, you can be able to see the noise levels in the morning, evening, and afternoon, and whether it's high, it's low, or it's moderate, using an expression that is noise levels above 85 are classified as high, between 75 and 85 moderate, and below 75 as low. And then after our analysis on the noise level, we shared the layers as web layers to be accessible in ArcGIS Online for the creation of web maps. Okay, we did the same for the air quality data, whereby we performed interpolation analysis. As you can see, the interpolated layer of the particulate matter, the ozone, nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, and sulfur dioxide, and we configured the pop-ups. And after the analysis, we still shared the layers as web layers to use them as feature layers in creating our web maps. Yeah, thank you.
Uh, I'll take you through the demo part of our presentation. After the layers have been exported from ArcGIS Pro, we put the layers in web maps where you can view them in map viewer. And from here, you can place the various layers to show the different elements and the data for the pollution, noise level, for the different times, the stops, and the routes which are accessed by the public transport here in Nairobi. From here, we are able to do the symbology as we did also in ArcGIS Pro, where you can select the type of symbology on the points, and also you can do analysis in ArcGIS Online with different tools that are present there, and also you can configure the pop-ups to show the various data of a particular point in relation to the layers in the same map. So, for example, here, this is a point where air pollution is measured, but you can also find the temperature data from there and monitoring the noise level data of that particular place. From there, we used ArcGIS Builder to make apps from the web maps. In Experience Builder, we can embed all the apps that we have made and also integrate Experience Builder's widgets to increase functionality and other experience. So as a part of our homepage, we have a story map which we have embedded. The story map talks about the various procedures and steps that we took to formulating our solutions. Onto our first app, you have the air pollution app. The air pollution app is a that allows functionalities to the user such that there are predefined filters on the right side of the screen. On the right side of your screen that shows different filters for the air quality. For example, you can filter just know where the air quality is nice. As you can see on the map, it has responded to your filtering. Also, you can see where there is high CO2 concentration, which bus stop has high CO2, and also you can see that the red spots are the ones which are highlighted more. And also you have a query feature, which is a query feature. You can give it points, and it will give you, for examples, how many measuring places are there near you, so you can buffer for 1 kilometer range, and you can apply, and it tell you there's no one there, so you can just change that, and it can tell you in the specific point you are in a 3-kilometer radius how many bus stops are there. Also, if you need to know that what effects of this air pollution at that particular point have on the people living in that area, we have integrated a business analyst tool which you can use this to give it a point from the map. So the points loads up from that particular point. Let's say you can use this sensor type right here, and from that you can give it a point. Let's say that bus stop, and it will give you the location. Sorry, my internet is having problems. Okay. So it basically gives you infographics of different aspects of the place, such as population, the industries which are there, the facilities which can get from school, and other facilities. From there, we also may be able to make an app which is only focuses on noise pollution only. So for the noise pollution app, also we have predefined filters. The filters are able to show you the various points on the map by just clicking, and it will filter the high level bus stops in the morning, evening, and afternoon. Also, they are moderate and the ones which are high. Also, you can do the same here. You can also query with the location with the spatial filter, so that it can give you the number of sensor points which are available there. In our app, we also configured a survey 1 to 3 form, which users can use when there are places which are noisy. They can just put the place's name, and it will remarks if it's a noisy place, and they'll just submit the form, and then the point will appear, which can be used in the dash which can be checked on the dashboard side by the environment stakeholders that want to monitor noise pollution at different places in the city. From the same web apps, we're able to make dashboards. The dashboard helps you visualize different aspects of pollution and weather data in those specific points, where you have the bus stops which you are chosen to be monitoring from, and you can choose a point, and it will tell you, to show you the pop-ups of that point. It will show you as you can see on the right, the carbon concentration, the humidity of that point, the particulate matter, and also you can see in the chart there that it only shows the particular point. Also, you can clear the selection point. So it's basically a responsive and interactive dashboard to see various statistics of a sensor. From there, we also did the same for noise level as the two entities, air pollution and noise pollution. It also does the same way you have which is responsive to the other parts of the dashboard, where it can give you certain points on the map. It zooms and it shows you the data of that particular point in the pop-up and how they are. From there, also we saw that most of our data will be gotten from sensors. So we made the sensor monitoring dashboard, where the sensors on the dashboard, where you can monitor the sensors of air pollution and air pollution from the dashboard. You can see which ones are faulty and which ones are working, and also the ones which were selected which were suggested from the survey form by people who think those places are noisy. So if you click there, it will tell you it's a high quality sensor, it's not faulty, it's working, and it will give you the place, and also you can see its location. So for the sensors, also we integrated field maps, as you can see in this pre-recorded video. In this pre-recorded video, you can see a professional worker can choose the field map app in his phone. When the map loads, he can access the layers which were used in the map, such as the sensor map, because it's the map that is going to use to fix the faulty sensors. So from there, he can zoom out find a faulty sensor, or you can choose which sensors they want to click, either noise level or air quality. For here we choose the air quality. So you can go to the map and you can choose the point where you want to go and fix the particular sensor if it's faulty. So you can move around, you can find one there, and that one is just at Timon. So you press it, and then you can edit its data and change it from you can get the directions to that particular point. You can press on direction and it automatically takes you to Google Maps and gives you directions to that point. And if you reach that particular point, you can go and edit the data after you change it from faulty condition to working condition, and the point will automatically turn from red to blue on the map, so that also the people who monitor in the dashboard can see that a particular sensor has been fixed. So from there, based on the data you have on pollution, roads, bus stops, and noise pollution, you're able to make a transport planner application. This application is going to be used by Nairobi residents to choose the most appropriate route to take when going to different places. It has integrated the air and noise pollution layers to show properties of the route, such as pollution concentration of the route, the air quality, the noise pollution in that route, and the user can choose which route they want to traverse from one point to another. For example, if you are in Karen and you want to go to a certain place, to town, you can just search Karen, and if you search Karen, it will give you the routes which the Karen bus stops has. So, for example, you want to go to town, you can choose this route, and if you choose that route, the sidebar on your left gives you all the properties of that route, such as the name, the bus stops which are present on that route, the average carbon dioxide, carbon 2 oxide concentration, the average temperature, noise in the morning, noise in the afternoon, and noise in the evening. And that data is converted by the sensors which are placed on that particular route. Also, you can search different routes to know where you are going, and it will highlight you for the routes that you can use. For the data you have, we saw that you could make a tool that is you can use it to monitor carbon emissions from your company. Such if you have a fleet of buses that runs through particular routes, we can use the field maps app, which tracks your location and it identifies the routes that you have taken. For example, you can see for bus 2 here, bus 2 it can tell you it takes a particular route 106 every day, and it travels a distance of 108 kilometers. The amount of fuel it has used during that time of the study, and the route imetumia. Then from there you can calculate the emissions get from that route and the carbon credits as well, so that you can help minimize the carbon footprint in the atmosphere by monitoring the carbon emissions for those particular places. So with that, I think that ends our presentation. And I'll take you to Julian, who will take you through the benefits of a solution.
In 1 minute, Julian, take it over.
So I'll rush you through the benefits of our solution. The very first was to improve on public health and safety. So this can be achieved by identifying areas of high noise level and air pollution level, so that people like city planners can be able to work and reduce the risk associated with the environmental hazards. The data gathered and the outputs also can be used to inform policymakers and programs that aim to reduce air pollution and noise level in urban areas. For example, measures such as improving public transportation can be taken. The third one was monitoring of air quality can also help in reducing emission of pollutants in the atmosphere, which directly contributes to the goal number 13 of the Sustainable Development Goal, which is climate action. The public can also be engaged by being educated on the health effects of air and noise pollution and encourage them to adopt behaviors that can help reduce pollution level. For instance, they can be encouraged to adopt the use of electric vehicles and promote the benefits of walking, cycling, carpooling, and also the public will be able to use for example, the applications have made to monitor routes that are less polluted. Last but not least, the city planners can be able to identify areas with the lowest levels of pollution, at least to locate new bus stops and even relocate the existing ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judianne and your team. I would like to appreciate you for the good work, and that was awesome. And I hereby welcome the Team Tanzania. They will be presenting a solution on water pollution monitoring. And please engage us on the chat section if you have any questions.
And they could just respond to a few questions on the chat.
I think the questions are being responded by the group through the chats. So because of time, Team Tanzania, please, do you take it over? Elizabeth and your colleague.
Yes, I'm starting to share my screen. Hello,
Okay.
I'm Elizabeth. I will start presenting the first part and I will give my colleague the next part of the demo to put you through. Our topic concerned with water quality monitoring using ArcGIS. Okay. I will start with the introduction. Yes. I'll start with the introduction with what is water quality monitoring. Water quality monitoring, it's an activity, an integrated activity for evaluating the physical, chemical, and biological character of water in relation to human health condition. Why do we do water quality monitoring? This will help to provide the objective evidence necessary to make a decision on managing water quality today and in the future. In many developing countries, the constant growing population has led water quality to vary as time goes. This variation is due to the results of human activities that mostly end up producing pollutants to water source or streams. In Tanzania, there have been a research that were done by NEMEC. The reports were explained about the depletion of living things in Lake Victoria due to the excess pollution that was being contributed by major rivers that take the water to the Lake Victoria. So this project used the Lake Victoria as a case study to perform different analysis through ArcGIS for water quality monitoring. Our problem statements were stated like despite of the direct methods to be used in monitoring water quality, it is not possible to monitor quality of surface water in every place. Since it takes a lot of time and expensive equipment in a collection of data and perform various analysis. Also, it has been indicated that currently 23 million of people in Tanzania do not have access to clean water, which means the citizens continue to get sick with waterborne illness. With the knowledge of GIS has been proven the effective way, cheaper and valuable tool in monitoring water quality parameters, especially in coastal levels, fresh water such as lakes, river, groundwater, and reservoir compared to in situ, where measurements are restricted to select sampling points. Thus, with the knowledge of GIS, we have applied the new method. We implemented the new method to reduce, so as to reduce the expense and time consuming during water quality monitoring. We had 3 tasks to accomplish. First was to prepare the ArcGIS system as the application of record the in situ or existing data collection method. The second task, we mapped and visualizing the stream, which have high risk of being polluted. And the third, where we applied the remote sensing imager and GIS to measure, map, and monitor surface water quality. Okay, from there we were able to create a textual description which helped to provide solution. From the left side, we started with data collection from different sources, such as DEMS, Sentinel. We use the Sentinel tool. Different shapefiles we use such as we use the building data, water bodies shapefile, word boundaries shapefile. Also, from there, data processing were performed through ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Map. This processing include stream delineation, proximity analysis, and point density. Okay, from there we generated sub-outputs that were directed to ArcGIS Online, which acted as a central database. Thus, the sub-outputs in ArcGIS Online were used to generate the outputs, such as web map, dashboards, which as a result acted as an integrated system that can be acquired by department users for different analysis. Also, we created a form from survey 123, which was used to fill in the parameters of water qualities by the organization, by different organization. These parameters was like pH, chloride, hardness, and total suspended matter. These are the methodology and tools which were used according to each objective. And my friend will pass you through the methodologies and the demos. Welcome, Stan.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay. So for the first model, we integrated data collected from the field to be directly input into a ArcGIS online system. These ones, we use survey 123, whereby the user will collect data from the field on these forms, for instance, here name and everything like RUQA, amount of water chloride, which is measured, and the position where it was measured. Yeah. And then if you submit it, submitting it, the output, the data which is submitted will be shown here, will be input here. The submitted data can be filtered according to the user of the system's needs. For instance, if you want the pH to be at a certain amount, the data which is being viewed, which is being displayed, will be filtered out, and the one of your interest will be shown. As you can see here, the amount which is required is shown there. Also, the system provides a selection of which parts the user can view. For instance, here you can see all the areas where the data has been collected. And if you select Pangani for the basins, you select Pangani, you go to Pangani, but for now we set the filters to this one. So if you set here, filters will show, and also from this side, you can see the amount of content or parameter which is higher than the others. For the second system, for the second model, we determine the streams that have high risk of polluting Lake Victoria and provide a monitoring system for continuous assessment. For this system, I'll take you through I'll take you through a brief summary of the methodology which is being used. First of all, we needed to have the streams that were affecting the lake. So we used the digital elevation model to delineate the streams that were provided here. Then we determined, we read researches on whether the factors that are polluting the streams to make the lake become a little bit polluted. The factors were residential density, the high residential densities, which were providing untreated wastewater to the lake or the streams, and also excess fertilizers coming from farmlands and industrial proximity to the streams. Now, for the population density or residential density, we use the shapefile of building, whereby, as you can see here, we had the population density of the area, residential density. From the residential density, we selected the streams that were at high population density. And for the proximity to the industries, we used the half a kilometer from we selected streams that are half a kilometer from the industries. And for the farmlands, we selected the streams that were crossing the farmlands. And also, in order to make sure that they have a connection to the lake, we selected the streams that were inputting their water into Lake Victoria. And for that, we merged them together, and we used the ones which have high or produced or provided much water onto Lake Victoria to be shown as the one which are being affected. As you can see with the RAS result, the outputs are this one, where the areas with high population density, you can see here, the stream is providing a red. This is one of the major streams that were coming out from the high population density. And also, as you can see here with the farmlands, whereby the area with the high population, with the streams crossing into the farmlands, the stream is being dedicated as a stream which has high risk of polluting the lake. It has a connection to the lake as well. For this system, for this system, The output is this one. You can show here. You can see here we introduced. No, don't do that. Introduce this one, and you can see clearly the dashboard that the areas with high risk of being polluting the lake are seen as shown, and you can delineate them alone. You can see, and their causes of polluting, you can see them, and the words which are, if you have your word and you want to find out if it's one of the pollutants, you can search for it. For instance, this one. The internet is a little bit too slow. Where there was agricultural areas, it is one of the pollutants causing this one to highly affect Lake Victoria to be one of the pollutants. Another one, you can see the amount of. Also, we can monitor the amount of contents which are the river is contaminated with. This is done by using the field map, whereby the data which can be seen on the field map can be increased, as you can see here on the video, whereby you select the stream which is supposed to be monitored, measuring it, and you can see here the graph is showing the amount which is already recorded for a period of time. Now you want to add another data onto it and provide an updation of how the river is going throughout the period of time. So you can see here the amount here is 0000 for the second time 2023 readings or measurements. So you go and you increase, or you put the amount which is being measured at that moment, or which is recorded at that moment. We input for chloride, and we put for pH. Then after that one, you submit it and into the online system. The graph will change. First, you see the graph will change. There's a new point that has been introduced onto the graph showing that the trend has been lowering down. So even if you're at the field, you can see the trend on how the parameters have been moving on. From that, we go to
Stanley,
yes.
You are requested to wind up because of time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. From the third model, we used areas to the third model, we determine the part of Lake Victoria which is highly affected by pollution and pollutants that are causing that pollution. For that, the output is this one. The methodology which has been used to provide that one is this one, where we use CITRAS-C methodology and Sentinel-2 data to provide the outputs. As you can see here, the area here did not change in its amount of chlorophyll, as the article says that the amount of chlorophyll has to be changed according to time, but the amount remained high, so the risk of that part being polluted is high. So research on what was causing that pollutant is reversimil, and which, as you can see, reversimil is affected by agricultural runoffs and untreated wastewater from industrial and urban areas. So we delineated the basin and the streams that were inputting its water into reversimil. After that one, we introduced the farmlands and everything. At the river mouth, we provided a buffer so as to provide the pollutants that are close to causing the pollution onto the lake. And you can see here we use the farmlands, which are the main pollutant, and also the population density, which provided that for a close proximity, the area which has high chance of polluting the lake are the walls that are Magu Mjini and Jigogo and Sukuma. And for that, we introduced an application, which is this one, which can determine which areas are more affected, and also you can change the layers on according to time, where first layer provided information on the chlorophyll amount for 2022. The second one will provide the total suspended matter. Third one will provide the chlorophyll amount for 2022, which is March, and that one for March, which is 2022. You can see here the river entering its mouth, and in short, that's all. Fine.
Okay. Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Stanley, for the presentation. And thank you for all our attendees for being patient and keeping us engaged on the chat section. We will try as much as possible to answer all your questions. So still engage us and we will answer them. I would like to take it back to Evelyn for the next.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anne. And thank you, team, for the great work. I want to thank everyone who's found time to join us today. I know we have quite a representation from the various organizations. I know we have Francis and James from Namata. I'll give you a minute to say a word. We have Mary from Agra. I think I've also seen Ciro from WWF. Then I know we have our